Okay, so we're live on air. Welcome, everybody. We have a small group here of LG G4 users here in Canada. So those of you who remember, LG launched a special Try LG G4 campaigns where I think it was 30 or 35 people across Canada got a chance to play with their LG G4, and play with it for up to 30 days. And I think it's almost nearing that point right now for a lot of us. And so I thought it was an apt time to sit down and sort of say, well, how have we thought about it right now? Now, I know everybody here is actually part of the Try LG G4 campaign, so you guys have got a chance to upload your photos and do a little mini review in their site. Personally, I've just been writing on the website, and yes, everybody's saying it is 35 users across Canada have been in this. So, of the 35 users, we have 4 that are here. So I'll just kind of announce you guys. So Daniel LR, and Daniel, where are you from?
I'm from Ottawa, Ontario.
So Ottawa, Ontario, we got who's just east of us here. We have Darren Young.
Hello, I am from Vancouver, BC, all the way on the west coast.
Okay, so he's having some great weather out that way here. And we have Rob from, I know, Winterpeg.
Winterpeg, yes. No snow here right now, but we're good.
And we have Sivan Rehan. So, Sivan.
From Montreal, Quebec.
All right, so again, why eclectic? And no matter how many times I do these hangouts on air and I never get anybody from the East Coast. I really want to find an East Coaster to talk about Android with. I don't know if they're too worried about the fishes and the cod. Anyways, so let's talk about the LG G4. And I made some talking points to go through it, and I know there's lots of things to talk about the LG G4. But some of the main things we want to talk about, first off, let's look at the outside of the phone. Before you even turn it on, one of the fancy features is that it comes in leather. So now, some of us got leather for the Try LG G4. Some of us got a plastic backing, so very similar to the original LG G3. Now, if you were to go out and buy the phone today, which you can at Rogers, Bell, Videotron, TELUS, etc., you actually get both backs in the case, so you actually get both, so you can swap it out if you didn't like the leather. But besides being at leather, it also has that slight, I think it was a 2.5D curve to it. So I know personally I found it slightly larger than the G3, a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker, but I'm not a big fan of the leather. But let's see what everybody else thinks. So, Daniel, let's go ahead. What did you think about when you picked up the phone for the first time and you started holding it? What did you think about the device?
I did not get the leather. I had the plastic back, and coming from the G3 with the plastic back, it kind of just felt the same, just a little bit taller. I felt, though, I disagree, but I felt it was a little bit lighter, like just a hair. But I could be a little biased. I do have a shell on my G3, so that could have thrown me off. I did take it off for the test, obviously, but no, I liked the feel. I liked the curve. I noticed the difference there, and yeah, it was a shame to put it back in that FedEx bag today.
Oh, you said you had to send yours back already today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to cut it off right there and just.
It's like a Band-Aid. Just rip it off. Just take it before I. Yeah. Yeah. So
also, with the kids around, I also wanted to make sure it didn't accidentally get dropped in the canal or something.
The longer it's in near the kids, the longer and more likely it might have an accident. Yeah, I get that feeling. So, so the plastic, was it very similar to the G3 plastic back? Like, because it's supposed to be this metal infused or aluminum infused backing.
No, it just had that cross-hatch etchwork on the back that looked kind of funky. I didn't notice anything really different. I didn't really examine the plastic back. I snapped it off to put it in the SIM card and with the battery, but that was about it.
Okay.
Other than that, it was pretty identical to the G3.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just took the leather back off mine, and it did feel pretty well the same weight once I took the leather back off. So maybe that leather does add some weight to it, as well as some depth. It's a little thicker. What did you find about the curve? Like, because it is curved. Like with the G3, it can sit flush and flat on the ground. Did you find the curve any better for using it?
Yeah, no, it was comfortable all around. I really enjoyed having the G4. The curve just gave it a more natural feel in the hand. If you held it up to your face, that also was more pleasant, I guess, for lack of a better word. No, I enjoyed the shape and size, and it was ideal.
Perfect. Okay. So let's go along another line. So let's hear Darren. Darren, you got a leather back, did you?
Yeah, I got the leather back as well. It did feel kind of plasticky, like a lot of people said. But I guess after the month, maybe either I got used to it, or it does feel a little bit more worn out. I guess kind of like how leather does wear in real life. Definitely holding it. I like the way that the back is curved. It does feel really nice in the hand, and with the buttons at the back, I'm used to it now. My biggest complaint about the buttons being on the back is that when I have this in my car's holster, I can't access the volume. It's at the back, and that's where the holder holds it. So basically, it's kind of like this, right? And then the front is facing me, and I can't. If I need to do the volume, if I adjust the volume, there's no way that I can tap the buttons as if it was on a regular phone, like my Nexus 5. Other than that, that's
would have just swipe down that little volume slider.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm driving, and even though you're not supposed to be touching your phone or whatever, I mean, I have to unlock it just to get to that volume slider if I needed to adjust the volume up or down. But with my Nexus, it's just right there. I just go tap tap, and I can adjust it up or down. That's probably the biggest complaint that I have about the buttons when on the rare occasions that I do drive. The curve is also just I don't know if you guys can see it there, but it is just a little bit curved as well. I remember my Galaxy Nexus also has that kind of curved face, and it's subtle. I mean, it's kind of like a talking point. It's a design feature. I don't think it does much either way. But if anything, the one thing that is nice is the screen. Once I turned it on, it's like, wow, the pixels, the resolution that's on there. It's gonna be hard going back to 1080p screen on my Nexus. That's all I can say. Kind of spoiled by that.
Okay. Rob, what do you think about the design, the feel of the LG G4?
I like it quite a bit. I noticed right off the hop when I got it out of the LG box that it was considerably light, even compared to my Moto X. I got the leather as well and everything, and I enjoy it. It gives a good texture. It makes it good for grip, so I don't feel like I'm going to drop it or anything if it, compared to the smooth plastic back or anything. It's I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would be real leather. They say it is. I have to believe that it is, but I haven't really thought. I thought it's kind of felt like plastic to me. Yeah, I don't know, but and yeah, the curve in the front is nice. I also had a Galaxy Nexus, so I can echo what Darren said. It is a nice little feature. It's subtle, but when you put it face down onto the table, you're not thinking you're going to scratch it or anything if you don't have a screen protector on. But past that, I've enjoyed it. I like a phone one day that has front-facing speakers, but I think it's really only limited to like HSC or something. But the speaker on it's really loud, so that helps compensate for the placement on the back. And the button thing for me, not an issue whatsoever. I haven't had any kind of problems with that, and I adapted to it very fast. So, but yeah, I like it overall. Not a problem with it.
Okay. Sivan, your thoughts?
The buttons on the back, I don't mind it. The only thing that's a bit hard is to take a screenshot. Because it's in the back,
I think she
it can add a screen gesture for screenshots. Because on my Oppo, I can just swipe with three fingers and take a screenshot instead of doing it with the buttons, which is much easier. And it has double tap to wake, so I think it does have the ability to have the gestures. So maybe that's something they can think about for the future to add. The curve, they say it helps protect the phone. That when it falls, it's more protected. It's less likely to break. And I actually did drop it twice, and it proved to be very sturdy.
I was going to ask somebody because that was the one thing he said.
Fine. Everything's fine.
Protected from its. Was 20% more likely to not break or
right?
It's supposed to be 20% more durable.
I was like, anybody test that theory out?
The one time I let my son touch the phone, he dropped it.
But
the leather back, it does get worn out a little bit with time. So it's not as soft as the Note 3, for example. My boss has the Note 3, and it has very soft, nice leather. So this is more, it's harder leather, and it takes time to work it in. But it's very easy to hold. It's natural to hold. It doesn't slip easily. So overall, I love the design, except for the curve that it makes it harder to type if the phone is on my desk at work, which I do sometimes with my phones.
That's the one feature I really dislike about the. I mean, I like the leather. I wasn't a big leather guy before, but that seam right down the middle. So when you lay it on the phone, it's sitting right on that seam. So whenever I'm trying to, and it's sitting on the phone, I find after tapping, it's rocking back and forth.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Flat. So I mean, you kind of really have to pick it up to use it. You can't just use it laying it down. But that's just minor thing. Okay, so that's the design of it. Let's take a look at the camera. That's the one big feature they talked a lot about is, the f1.8 aperture, better for low light. The new color sensor that's there, so allowing it to understand what's in the picture to take the right proper exposures. OIS got even better with 3-axis image stabilization, and the laser focus is even smarter now, and the full manual mode. So it was just overall supposed to be a smarter camera. But how did we find it? So I'll go backwards this time. So let's start with Sivan. What did you think of the camera?
Okay, so the manual mode takes some time to get used to. You really need to learn it. So whoever gets the phone really needs to learn how to use it to get the maximum results. It took me about a week or two to really master it and understand how to use it. And it's different than DSLR. I'm not a photographer. I'm just I like taking photos, but I wouldn't call myself a photographer. But I know that because of the set aperture, it's very different than DSLR because you can't change that. So you have to work around it. So you can work with the exposure and the ISO, but you have to keep in mind that the aperture is set. So, but it's still fun, and I took some nice night photos with it, and I did enjoy learning about it and using it. The focus is great. It works amazingly. The automatic mode, it's okay. It took some great pictures, but it's not as good as my Oppo N3.
So overall, comparatively, the smarter features you're saying didn't really give it the better photo, like in terms of compare that to your N3. You still like the N3?
I took some great photos, but it took more work to get them. With the Oppo N3, I just put it on automatic, and it does a better job, a little bit. But this is very close. I mean, the photos are great, and I'm very happy with them.
Now, how about
but mainly the manual mode.
No, we can't really compare the selfie mode on the N3.
Right, that can be compared because the N3 has the rotating camera and it has the real flash in the front. So when I did go out with friends and we were in a very dark club, I had to bring my N3, I promised them, because they wanted to look good. And we compared both, and you can't even compare. I couldn't even put the selfies on the website because it just didn't come out so good in really dark conditions. It was very, very dark. If it's a bit dark, I still took some nice selfies. But completely in the dark, in the club, we needed the real flash, and we used the N3. But the Beautify on the G4 is very good in regular light conditions, and dark photos are good in general. So it's not that they're bad, but I try to use the flash that they have when they use the screen as a flash, but it didn't work so good.
Okay. Let's move along here. So let's take a look. Rob, so using the camera, how did you find? You've taken some great photos you've shared in our Hangouts before. So what did you think?
This phone's definitely brought back my own hobby of being a photographer, not just at work, but on my own. So unlike Sivan, I do photography, so it didn't take me very long to adjust to manual mode whatsoever. Everything was quite obvious to me, just because it's what I do. So yeah, it was lots of fun to take pictures of it. I put it through the ropes. I did what I could to take all kinds of shots, follow along with the test drive. That's one thing that one of the other guys might mention is just that we got the little card here that we're supposed to do, and it's got a list of different things for it to take pictures of each week, which were moments, colors, low light, and selfies. So definitely easy to get all those kinds of things for me. Just from either taking moments like shooting my kids, and they're a great test because with my old phone and the phone before that, I could never get a good shot of a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old running around. They're just a blur here and a blur there, and next thing you know, I'm just going to get my wife's iPhone because it could catch them. This one has the one up even on hers now, like with the double tap to activate the camera. I left on for a while the option just double tap and it takes a picture right away. That was great. There was a nice moment I wanted to catch before the kids ran away or something like that, and it got them nice and crisp most of the time. There was a couple of shots be blurry, but and then back to manual mode. Nighttime, I was once out at 2 in the morning, and I set it on a card holder, like this thing, and that way, and I would just press the button to take a picture, and I'd set to 30 seconds. Wait, it would go click once, 30 seconds later, click again, and I got some pretty cool Starscape pictures, and those are on my Google Plus channel for anyone who wants to see them. But yeah, it turned out really nice. One of them even managed to catch a shooting star, I'm pretty sure, and that was that was pretty cool. So, but yeah, overall, I love this thing. For me, it's a really good fit. So the camera is definitely the win over in this case.
Okay, Darren, how about yourself?
Probably for me, the hardest challenge was a selfie. I guess me being a Gen Xer, I'm not that narcissistic, so I never took a lot of selfies. I guess I did a few with my son. We were out on Saturday. One nice thing that I like about the camera is the optical stabilization. Where I live in Vancouver, I have a clear view of the mountains in North Vancouver from my house, and I was able to get a really nice nighttime shot. With the sun just setting on the west, I can see a little bit of orange over the mountains, and the lights just on the other side of the city and off of the mountains. On top of that, with 16 megapixels in the camera, I was able to zoom quite a bit. If I left it from just the full 16 megapixels, you wouldn't see like there's a telephone pole in the way. There's wires, electrical wires, and cables that go across my back alley, but I was able to zoom in, run in manual mode with a slow shutter speed, and yet hold it as still as I can. And the optical stabilization helps keep the picture fairly blur free with me just hand holding it. I wasn't smart enough to use a little card holder to use it as a stand. I was trying to make something in time, but I couldn't. But I was able to get a pretty good shot from my vantage point, just by hand holding it as steady as I can, and just letting the optical stabilization do its job. And I got quite a nice shot from my house.
Cool. All right, Daniel, yourself. What do you think about the camera on the G4?
Well, I'm a videographer by trade, so and I love taking pictures with the phones. Like right way back when I had my little what was the Razor, up to the BlackBerry Pearl, and all the way up through all the phones I've had, iPhone 4s and what have you. G3 I thought was pretty good, but not as great as some of the Samsung offerings. And then when I had the G4, it was just fantastic. It blew me away. The manual mode was doing stuff that no other phone cameras were doing, and you can get, like they say, the DSLR shots with the manual mode. It was incredible. I did have a hard time with the selfie phone. I have a face for radio, so I just wasn't really keen to do those. But no, I loved the camera thoroughly. I can't wait to get my hands on one again.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing we did want to mention as well is this model does have the new 3-axis image stabilization, and I know Rob has mentioned in the chat. And being a videographer, Daniel, I'm not sure if you noticed, and we talked about this in the Hangouts a fair bit, was that when it would do a video, the optic image stabilization in the video, it had that extra little wobble I guess
Yeah.
that would be the Z-axis
Yeah,
wobble.
that weird
Yeah.
kind of distortion, like an old U2 Europa video or something. Europa video.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and it does throw you off a bit, but you know, it's not a $5,000 camera either, though, right? So yeah.
Right. But I think it just came from that because the the G3 never had any of that. It's just an extra axis that would wobble
Yeah.
when you're taking those photos. I think that's my guess where it is. So
Yeah,
hopefully there may
it's
be-
definitely the Z-axis that's throwing it all off. That makes that kind of go its way as well, kind of thing. So that was a bit of a disappointment for me, but
Yeah.
For me, the one
Okay.
thing that didn't work as well as I thought it would was the laser focus. I took a couple of shots of my daughter outside at like Starbucks, and the first couple of photos it would just focus on the background, even though that was like about 100 feet away, as opposed to her sitting right in front of me taking up the whole frame. I thought that was kind of disappointing that it wasn't as intelligent to be able to catch that. But what are you gonna do?
Okay. So let's move from the camera to the software. So LG's no better than any other brand out there at adding their own. Samsung, Moto, HTC, they always like to add their own. And LG really wanted to talk about how intelligent is the new. The idea being is that they really wanted a more intelligent system. They really make that many jumps in terms of spec-wise from the G3, but what they did add is stuff like the smart bulletins were a little better, smart settings, so knowing if you're at home and stuff like that. So they're better battery savings up. Personally, one I really noticed was the difference between the G3 and the G4, even though there's the same resolution. Notice the icons, especially in the system tray, were a lot smaller on the G4, which really made it nice. I didn't have to be limited to like 3 or 4 icons, and then you can't see the rest of your notifications. With this one, the nice smaller icons, so you can have a full row of, like me, I really don't check my phone because I'm checking the watch a bit more often. So when I get to the phone, I usually have 12 or so different notifications. So, but in terms of software myself, I know personally I had to wait a couple weeks to give it a try, but after a couple weeks, I turned all those off, and I went back to sort of a stock launcher, the Google Now launcher. I'm using Nova Launcher now. But like, what do you guys think of the software? Did you find yourself losing it, or did you find them, useful or whatever? Let's start off. So Daniel, what do you think about any of the built-in?
I kept it with the stock launcher. It actually reminded me quite a bit of the Moto G that was really. I didn't turn off all the notifications. I kept it with the one which was I promoted it with the G3 where it turned off so they go it's like the phone or every week. But for the most part, it was there was negative.
Daniel, can you hold the microphone just a little bit closer? We can barely hear that one. I'm trying to crank you up here a bit.
Sorry, I was just saying that the I was just looking for lag and bloat, and I didn't see a lot of that. I was responsive, and I kept some of the notifications on the LG Smart Notices, but I didn't do that with my G3 because it really annoys me. But for some reason with the G4, they had the system a little smoother.
Okay. What about yourself, Darren?
I decided to tough it out with the stock launcher. Coming from Nexus, I was used to a very nice, clean interface. Definitely the notification window. I don't like I have to pull it down twice to get all the notifications. I like it how the stock one, you just pull it down a little bit and then you see all your notifications there rather than just the settings. So that kind of got a little annoying. I didn't find the LG Smart Notifications as good as Google Now. It felt a little, I don't know, it said like, oh, friend's birthday is coming up, right? That's something that it just didn't seem quite right. It didn't seem as polished as Google Now, whereas Google Now would say, oh, so-and-so's birthday is coming up, or and that kind of stuff. I left it pretty stock just to give it a good try. I set up like the remote control and played with that a little bit, but the TV remote, but I didn't really use it that much other than just to set it up and play with it. I don't know if my Nexus doesn't count my steps very well or this G4 overcounts, but when I had my Nexus, it would say I would get about, 7,000 or 6,500 steps a day walking, but the G4, I don't know if it counted more steps, but it picked up more, so I hit my goal more often than than my Nexus. I should have carried both phones with me just to see what it would look like, but I don't know. Other than that, yeah, I just kept it pretty stock. For the most part, I just used it as is. It was okay. It's just like, yeah, I think the smart notifications. I prefer personally. I prefer the Google Now launcher. That's just me.
I'm just checking my my Google Fit versus LG Health because I use both in the same device.
Yeah.
And LG Health has said I have done 4,500 steps today. Google Fit says I've had 5,700 steps today. So a little weird. It's
yeah. Well, like I said, it was on two different devices. Comparing my Nexus from the LG. So, well, we'll see. Maybe I'll carry both of them.
I wonder if my watch is playing into how much the watch is using if I'm not moving with the phone either. Anyways, moving along. So, Rob, what do you think of the software on the LG G4?
Well, LG would probably be kind of mad at me because I tried to give it a good shot, but after about maybe a week, maybe 5 days, I kind of had to switch back because I'm used to like a stock-esque Android interface. So the LG's launcher, not my cup of tea. But I like to customize too much, and in my own defense, I really like to. If I was going to demo this phone to see, do I really want this as my daily driver? I want it to be how I would use it. So I've always had Nova Launcher, for example, and other ones I test here and there. But once I switched to that one, then the phone was just, it felt better, seemed a little peppier, a little more responsive. So I was really enjoying the phone overall. Once it put Nova on there, the side ticker that when you scroll over with the stock launcher, I never found a use for that too much. I do like some of the smart settings. So, if you're home, it'll turn on Wi-Fi and turn it off if you're not here, or if you plug in your headphones, it'll load either music app or whatever you want. So like mine's set up to boot up songs and that works well. Same thing if it connects to Bluetooth, you can actually select like not just any Bluetooth. So like my Pebble is always connected to it, but when I go in the car, it'll recognize that and then it'll turn on songs for that one too. So that's been working well. But yeah, it's past that. T Remote, I've tried that out too, and that works fine. I have an LG TV, so that was extra easy for me. Just kind of connected one step, and I was done. So, but yeah. Oh, and the one thing though is, if we're supposed to be honest with LG, I know it's been said lots, but LG, please never ever do the scrolling thing again. That's not nice.
Yeah.
As a designer and everything, this just scared me. So, but thank you, LG, for giving us List View. This is how I use my phone, and now it's fine. So,
yeah.
Okay, now I'm done.
Sivan, what did you think about the software on the G4?
Okay, so I actually really like the launcher. I like those cute notifications, and they say, oh, maybe today take an umbrella because it will rain in the afternoon. And if I got, after a few days, it says, we noticed that every time you get in your car, you open Ingress, so would you want to maybe connect it to your Bluetooth in the car and make it open automatically? And I'm like, yes, that's an amazing idea. And so I'm like, this phone gets me. So I loved it. But after about 2 weeks, I had to change to the Google Now launcher because it was a bit slow and it was slowing up the phone. So it was a bit laggy because I am a power user. I use a lot of apps at the same time and multitask a lot, and I needed to be very, very quick. So that's a shame that it slowed down the phone. But maybe with a software update it can improve because I did like the functionality and I did like the design. And the remote is great. I'm using it every day.
Okay. And I think, I think personally I found it took a couple weeks before it really started to slow down. I guess the more data it got on you and about knowing where your house is, where your work is, what you're putting on and what you're doing. For me, I found, again, same idea. I had to sort of put a different launcher on and immediately clear it up super fast again. Darren, you have a question. Is anybody here trying to use the dual window on their phone?
Yeah, it's great for YouTube actually, because then YouTube plays in the background when you use other apps.
I did. I played with it a little bit. My problem was I ran out of data, so I couldn't stream as much as I could. But it's probably because it was when we got this phone in June, and then my cycle didn't end until the 21st, and was doing a lot of streaming on the bus and stuff like that. So I mean, I played with it a little bit. It's kind of neat to have. It's a nice feature, but I mean, if I don't make a point of using it, I didn't really use it much.
Okay. Another question, just to go back into the camera, when Sivan brought up in the chat window. One of the neat features about this phone was that the camera allowed you to shoot in RAW. Did anybody ever use RAW mode? Personally, I've never been a photographer to shoot in RAW. I don't have Lightroom to really process and play. Anybody tried using that?
I should have. I didn't. That's the best I can say.
Same here.
Ditto.
I took some photos in RAW just so I have the option to play with it a bit later, because I took my husband to a special spot where we can take night photos of the city, and it was really amazing. These photos really blew my mind. So I have them in RAW so I can play with them in the future when I have a chance.
It's always nice to have the option later on down the road. I think it's cool.
But that's why I ran out of space.
No.
No more space. 32 gig and it's full.
Wow.
So whoever does like to take photos in RAW, make sure to have an SD card.
I think it's sort of a standard. I think if you're going to shoot RAW,
Yeah.
it's going to be about 60 megabytes for every shot, right? So.
Yeah, and you can specify where your pictures get saved. I put an old 32 gig card that I had from before. I just sort of left it in there. And, maybe I didn't take as many photos, I don't think I shot RAW, but I still got lots of space. I didn't put much music. I just streamed everything off of Google Play myself.
Okay. Sivan, you had one important comment?
Something cool about the software is that when I did run out of space, it has a cleanup tool, so it's very easy to find out where you have all that space and how to clean it, and it's very simple. So I like that a lot.
Okay, and you can still manage it without having to go into the launcher or wait for that thing to. So, okay, so let's go talk about the overall performance. So again, let's take a look at considering what we were using before, and sort of think about performance-wise, battery-wise. Like, how do you think it sort of compares to what you've had before? So, Sivan, let's hear your thoughts on that.
For me, the Oppo N3 is better. Although this is a great phone, but what I'm missing is a fast charger, because I'm used to a very fast charger. So that's a bit of a problem for me, because the battery does run out around the afternoon for me, because I use the GPS a lot, and I really do use my phone a lot. The camera is great, but again, the N3 is a bit better. But overall, it's a great phone. I really love it. It's not that I, every day missed my old phone. I really enjoyed using it, and it's a great phone that I would recommend to anyone.
Okay. Rob.
Oh, yeah, the battery was good for me. I mean, I go out from a 2-year-old phone, so I mean, my comparison's gonna be way different. The Moto X is kind of down to, if I unplugged it about 6 in the morning, it would go until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock before I work. I needed to plug it in. So, whereas for me, I don't play any games on my phones. So, the LG was lasting me pretty much right till from 6 until 10 o'clock at night, and it would still be at maybe 10% or 5 or something. But it would go all day. The only time it would maybe die down was when I would go out during lunch hours or something from work, and I would be taking all these photos. The camera keeps the screen on, of course, and I put it to full brightness so I can see what I'm doing better, and then you can see the hit. But for the most part, it's been doing really well battery-wise. And I was going to say earlier too, with the LG system, that it's got a battery saver mode, and I kind of like how that when you go down to a certain setting that you can say, like maybe 15 or 10, it'll actually let you know that it's in battery saving mode. Even the status bar and your navigation bar should change color to an orange, which is kind of cool. And it's just letting you know that's in that mode. So if things are goofy or anything, you can immediately see why. So.
Sure. All right, Darren, what are your thoughts overall?
Overall, definitely the battery life. I'm just going to make a quick comment about that battery saving mode. I think it's a lollipop feature because I noticed that when my Nexus 5 went to lollipop, it had that orange battery saving mode whenever you hit 15%. The biggest difference I found between the G4 and my Nexus 5 is when it hit that battery saving mode. I too am a pretty heavy user of my device. I let it sync all the time. I sync about 3 accounts on it. Getting hangout messages from my friends and my family, that kind of stuff. I take public transit to work. It's about an hour each way where I can surf and play Ingress to my heart's content, and I don't have to worry about the cops catching me for driving distracted because I'm not driving. With my Nexus, in the morning when I would leave, I would unplug it just before 7 o'clock, and I get to work at around about an hour later, I would be down to low 80s% wise, because I'd be on my phone a lot, streaming Google Play Music, surfing G+, YouTube, checking my mail, playing Ingress. So pretty heavy user. But with my the G4, I'd be down to maybe 90 something, 92, 93 within that same period of time. Definitely it would last all day for me. I'm a high school teacher, so I can't really use my phone a lot during my working hours, but outside of that, I use it quite a bit. So usually by the end of the school day for me, my Nexus 5 would be, on a best day, hovering around 50-ish% or 40, depending on what I did during the day, just syncing and picking up emails. Where I work, the cell phone coverage isn't that great, but for the G4, what would I be? Maybe down to almost 80%, 70, somewhere in there. So plenty of battery life for me. That's the biggest thing that I found with this phone is that battery life. Just the bigger capacity that it had, and I guess what they've got in there with the new processor compared to what I have in the Nexus, it just works out for me.
Okay. And Daniel, let's hear, what do you think of, well, overall, I mean, especially you and I both have used the G3, so you can see that spec, that generation jump. What do you think about it overall?
Yeah, I would have to say if I had to put a number on it, it was about 30 to 35% better than the G3, which is I would say more than an incremental bump. It was quite noticeable and, like I say, difficult to go back to. I hate to have to do this, but I have to tap out now. I have to go tuck in kids, and then I've got to get up in 7 hours as well. So it was really nice getting to know all you guys and then chatting with you and comparing notes over the G4, and hopefully we can keep in touch.
For sure. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Good night.
So, and I'll sort of echo Daniel's words there in terms of like when I went from the G3 and also being a Quad HD device, I went from the G3, same battery size. Not only was the colors better on the G4, but actually I noticed the battery did last longer. I mean, LGs aren't great on battery life anyways, and yes, Darren and Savannah will say as soon as you start going ingressing a little bit, the battery really starts to suffer. So if I go out for my hour-long walk at lunch and I come back and my battery's at 50-60% of my G3, it is at easily 60-70% still at my G4. So it is not a huge jump difference, but definitely you can tell that they've made something better in this device personally. And and again, still I have chargers everywhere. Now, talking to Savant's comment about the fast charging, the Snapdragon 808 is compatible with Quick Charge. We just don't know if it is fully compatible or how that they're going to roll that out in terms of a firmware update or not. But hopefully it brings that feature out and somebody figures it out. I think, Savant, you had one more comment there?
It's definitely the GPS that affects the battery life a lot, and not so much the screen, which is surprising. Because now that my kids are in camp and I don't play as much, it lasts much longer. I'm still at 60% from early in the afternoon, which is not bad.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Cool thing again. I noticed it definitely lasted longer than the G3. So, anyways, that's pretty much it. I went a little bit longer than our half hour that I was hoping for, guys. But I mean, I think a lot of really cool experiences we've had with the G3. I know you guys are really excited to get a brand new one since you finished all the challenges, right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
But,
I still need to write my review tomorrow.
but they'll guys get a brand new, make a new one. So, any last comments on the LG G4 before we head out, guys?
Well, I know you've done a little bit of research on the type of wireless charging capabilities, if it has. I know that's a big one that I don't know. I gotta say it. Sorry, I'm spoiled with my Nexus 4, my Nexus 5. I got my wife a Nexus a QI charger for her birthday, and ever since then, it's just put it down and you just let it do its thing, and your device is charged. That's my biggest picking point, I think, for me on this device is, oh, why didn't they put it in there?
And not so much that it didn't put it in. I can get that, saying, hey, well, if I want the QI charging, then I just got to get the special Circle case back. That's fine. I could live with that. I would buy the back or buy the extra back with the proper chip in it. The problem is, if you look at these things for the G3, I bought these for the G3, they're QI. The LG G3 and the LG G4 are only PMA. So it's not just the back you have to get. You have to get the PMA. You can't get just the coil for QI and hope it works. You need to get the PMA back, and that's a real pain in the ass. I really have to say, LG, you really dropped the ball on this one. The Nexus 4, the Nexus 5 QI started off that real phase of wireless charging, and then to come up with PMA. And it comes from the fact that Rogers is very close friends with AT&T in the States, and AT&T requires the PMA standard just to be a dick or something, I don't know. But basically, and that's where we get stuck with the PMA models. Anyways, but that's a pain in the ass, but at the same time, I still love the phone. I still use my my USB charger on it all the time.
Yeah, I had to get used to plugging it in at the end of the day. That's about it.
Yeah, and everybody talks about battery life being this and that. I can't believe it. Like, I know Martin really talks about, battery life should be way better. I mean, he tweaks his phone excessively so that it lasts like 24 hours on a single charge. And really, if it lasts an 8-hour day or a 9-hour day or a 9-hour day to a 10-hour day, there's not much of a difference to me.
As long as it lasts a day, right? That's just the thing.
A day, and chances are we have chargers everywhere close to us. So, and most people I know keep a little, portable charger somewhere near them. But anyways, still a great
battery in his phone. Don't forget.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. It is removable.
That's something you can't really say as much anymore. I couldn't even do it with the Moto X, and you can't do it with the latest Samsungs, but still switch the battery in this one, so that's at least an option. And as far as I know, batteries themselves are not too expensive either.
Yeah, I haven't looked up what the costs were. I think I wanted to say about $50 for the G3, so I'm not sure what the G4 might run at. But anyways, that's an option. That's the LG G4. If you haven't had a chance to try it out, I really recommend it. The 5 of us who were here have all tried it. We really recommend it. I know we've written our own reviews on our website and our Google Plus posts and etc. So by all means, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask us. And thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks.